Today on the show, we have Brian Alvey. Did I say that right, Brian?
Yep, you sure did.
All right. So we have Brian.
Alvey,
yeah, we have Brian Alvey. He's been with me before, so this is going to be fun. He is the owner of The Mint in Franklin, Indiana. He's a business consultant. He has a incredible nonprofit that we'll talk about, and he is the father of four. So welcome to the show, man.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me back. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I always like having these conversations after I've had one, and then we circle back around and get a little deeper and talk about some more things. Yeah. So what's been going on in your life lately?
Just been staying real busy. Doing the do with respect to business and whatnot, the day-to-day stuff. Dealing with all this COVID stuff. It's definitely changed how we have to do things, our approach on a lot of things, and try to stay compliant with all the state quote unquote mandates, whatever that is. And moving forward, that still doing a lot of training for myself. That's my I put myself through physical torment for proper mental health, and sometimes I have to ask myself, oh, is this worth it? I let a bunch of young studs beat me up on a regular basis. So still doing that, and a few other things, just poking and prodding around when I'm not just hanging out with my kiddos.
Yeah, that's cool. I think I relate a lot to like kind of your lifestyle. You're always moving. You seem to always be moving. You're involved in things. You're involved in other people's lives. You have your business, and you're also balancing the kids. I think I've said it many times before, but balance is a fallacy when you're a business owner and you have a family and all those other things. But so first of all, let's talk about your nonprofit, because the Warrior 100.
Yeah, the Warrior 110.
I missed it by 10. Yes, I actually thought of that one after I said it. But hey, the Warrior 110, you just finished that, 5 months ago?
We did it for the second time, and we did it the week of Veterans Day.
That's right. And
so November.
This was your second time around doing a 110-mile ruck.
Yep.
Was that pretty eventless, or did you come across some fun excitement or not so fun excitement during that experience?
Actually, it went really well. We were blessed with some amazing weather. I couldn't believe it. I mean, there was a couple of days it's November, and I remember November, that time frame last year, and I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to do this at this time frame. Maybe I'll stick with the summer like we did the first year, which was hot. But there was a few days I was running with my shirt off. It was just warm. I mean, but it was never too hot. It literally was perfect. The last day it got just a little chilly, so oh shucks, I had to put a sweatshirt on. It was. I couldn't have asked for better weather. It never rained on us. It was perfect. So, and we did a little different this year. Me and Adam proved a point the first year to ourselves. He and I did the first 100 by ourselves, and we just went old school, man. We pushed in the wood line when it was time to sleep, either slung a hammock or dropped on the ground with a bivy sack or something. And this year, man, I'm old and I'm brittle and I don't need to be doing this stuff. So this year we hoteled it, man. I was like, we had a support van following us, opposed to just two guys just walking all by themselves at lonesome. But we had the support van. I had some really great guys, Jake, Rick, and Darren that rolled with me. Darren did the whole thing with me, walked the whole thing with me, and Rick did a bunch. And Jake would manage the whole thing. He serves on the board of directors with the Warrior 110. As a matter of fact, all three of those gentlemen serve on the board of directors with the Warrior 110. And but Jake was doing all the social media posting, taking all the photos and coordinating, speaking events along the way, different media events. And then he would take care of the hotel. And I had one request per each stop that we had. I was like, find the hotel with the damn hot tub. Yeah. I need to get my brittle, sore ass in a hot tub. So every night that we could get a hot tub, COVID shut a bunch of them down, weirdly enough. But every night that we could get a hot tub, we soaked in a hot tub and drank bourbon. And that was our preparation for the next day's adventure. So we try to, we do it over a 5-day span. just because we don't want to push it too fast. You never know with weather and just the different media stops. We got to allot some time for it. But if you also look at 110 miles, you break that down, that's 22 a day, which is also a way of us giving a shout out to the 22 veterans a day that commit suicide. That with the Warrior 110, what we're doing is we're trying to wear awareness and funds to help combat the post-traumatic stress and the traumatic brain injuries that a lot of veterans are suffering from, which far too often lead to the ultimate horrific aspect of the 22 veterans you lose a day. I heard somebody, I've been hearing a narrative coming out, like, oh, well, we're down to 17 a day. I'm like, that's from attrition. You got to run out eventually. One day it'll be 0 a day because we'll be all gone. I'm not buying that number as a positive. They're gonna have to prove a lot more to us before that. And then we're doing it our way, just to try to take care of ourselves, take care of our own. So.
Well, and I think there's something to that. The fact that it's gone down a little bit, that attrition, maybe air quotes attrition.
Yeah.
The fact that we haven't had any real active duty things going on overseas, and so that but when that picks back up, because I'm pretty sure it's going to, when that picks back up, why wait for it to go down when we can continue to build something and put things in place that are more preventative moving forward as well.
Absolutely. Well, if you look back in our history, all medical science, especially trauma medicine, the learning curve goes vertical in time of war because they have all these opportunities, all these medical professionals have all these opportunities to practice and learn, and through the horrors of war. But we've never, until recently, now that this is the first time there's ever been a collective effort to why don't we turn the learning curve vertical on mental health with respect to the invisible wounds of war. And I feel like this is the first time we're actually trying to do that. We're not just calling a guy shell shocked or whatever. We're actually treating this. And here's the beautiful thing about that: for every negative, there's a positive. The negative aspect of war and all that the physical trauma that they have dealt with and they've learned so much from, that's the benefit. So the civilian world, the rest of the world, benefits from all that improvement in medical science. And the same thing applies with the mental health. So, anything that we learn, veterans don't even come close to having a monopoly on post-traumatic stress. I mean, there are so many people walking this planet right now that are suffering from post-traumatic stress. Most of them don't even realize they are. It could be a sexual assault victim. It could be somebody who just had a shitty childhood with a horrible father figure, which I don't know if we just tied this whole program into, full circle there. But if we focus on improving the mental health, the lives of these veterans that are struggling with post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury, it just obviously stands to reason that the rest of the world will benefit from it as well.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to think about it. And it's you think about that, think about the advancements made during wartime. It's incredible because you're faced with a lot of trauma, a lot of trials, and you get to practice and figure things out. So it's kind of a upside to a really horrific situation.
Right.
Yeah. So the Warrior 110 year 2, you gonna do it again?
Oh yeah, it's a regular thing now. I mean, as long as I can, and hopefully, we had guys join us this year, guys and gals join us along the way for part and parcel of it. Especially we had a really good crew. The last 10-mile trek, where we started the memorial in front of Camp Atterbury, Indiana, which is just 10 miles south of Franklin, Indiana, where we culminate at the Mint for our finish, our hey, we made it party, where we commenced to drinking too many adult beverages. I don't know if that's a thing. So we had a lot of people join us for that. And then the after party was a nice showing again. And we raised quite a few $1,000s. We are a 501c3 now. We got the first time we did a less than 3-week turnaround from conception to knocking it out the first year. So we didn't have time to create a 501c3. So we didn't want to touch any funding whatsoever. So we redirected everybody to a veterans organization based out of Indianapolis and said, donate directly there if you want to donate some money. This year, we took on, we had the function or the capability of taking on those donations. So it was easier to get it and process it. And then we pledged to send a couple veterans through obviously we're going to put that money in the bank. We're going to hold on to it for different events, different things to raise awareness. And we kind of started a new thing. I'll get into that in a second. It's really big, but we also pledged to send a couple veterans through the Brian Bill Foundation's programs down in Florida. They are a veteran service organization. It's named after Brian Bill, who is a former Navy SEAL development group, SEAL Team 6 guy. His father started it, Scott Bill, and his stepmother. They both run it, Jennifer. They're amazing people. I actually had the honor and privilege of going through one of their programs. But what they do is they get veterans working with horses, equine therapy, and they do that. Then they do iRest, they do meditation, they do yoga, they do all these programs. It's amazing. I was a little, I don't know if I want to do this, and I'm so glad I went. It was amazing. I met some great people there. They're doing good things for vets who are struggling with those post-traumatic stress, TBI, things of that nature. So we're gonna take some of that funding. It isn't cheap to send guys through a program like that. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of costs involved, especially when it comes to horses, this ranch they run. So we raised some money. We're happy. We're going to, as soon as they can start their programs back up, COVID's knocked them off track right now. So we've got that money sitting. It's in the account ready to, we're going to sponsor a couple of guys to go through that. And that's going to be awesome I can't say enough good things about those people. We know that when we transfer those funds to those people, that money, they're going to be good stewards of that money, and they're going to do good things for vets with that money. So
that's awesome. And I also want to give a shout out to JC Wagamon. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
So JC has a business, an insurance business, and he actually gives back. And so he partnered with you.
Yes, he did.
I think took a percentage of what you owned and matched it, or what you gathered and matched it, or something to that nature. I don't know.
Actually, he takes a percentage off the top of his company's total net revenue before he pays a bill, pays a tax, anything. He takes that hard number and he donates that percentage to different charities. He picks a different charity all the time. It's usually on a monthly basis. He did a 2-month block for us. It was huge. It wrote us a big fat check. If you go to my social media and you see me grinning with a big check in hand with him, and we had one of our other board members who I do jiu-jitsu with, who's been a great coach to me over the years, Jason Ramey. He was there with us as well. He's in on the program. We're going to start doing. So what we've done there's 2 gentlemen I want to mention that serve on the board of directors for the Warrior 110, Jason Ramey and Aaron Johnson. Aaron Johnson's a legendary grappling guy. He's a black belt Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he has an organization called Indiana Combat Grappling. And he coaches jiu-jitsu and wrestling from grown old men like me all the way down to young kids and wrestling and, in elementary and high school levels. He's still active duty in the Army with the Indiana Army National Guard. Amazing guy. And then I've got Jason Ramey, who is an incredibly experienced. I've learned more from him than probably anybody in jiu-jitsu. If you add the collective time I've spent with him, he is a brown belt. And he's a former fire chief. He's with the fire department as a training officer over here, and he real good steward of his community, serves on his town council and everything. And he runs this gym. So he has always run our Franklin Jiu-Jitsu club, and Aaron has his name. Well, we merged the two, and I, with the Warrior 110, got a facility, and we put them all under one building. And now we're getting vets in to do jiu-jitsu therapy, if you will. So we're getting veterans that need, this jiu-jitsu does an amazing thing for my mental health. It does a lot. We've got a lot of veterans in there, a lot of cops and firefighters too. And so Jason's going to walk point on it. We're going to do a monthly seminar, an introductory to jiu-jitsu for guys that are currently serving. And when I say guys, I mean guys and gals. It's a unisex word there. But I always say guys, even when I'm talking about girls. So getting those that are currently serving and those that are veteran in and to see what we're doing and see the benefits to it. And a lot of times it's just having a mission in life again, and it's about being with that team camaraderie, because we are a team in there. And for me it's huge because being this long in the tooth, I'm 48 years old. This isn't usually something guys my age get into and whatnot. But, I did the boxing and I did some different things over my years. I did, all these different things. So I got into jiu-jitsu a couple of years ago because it's brand new to me. So it's like, to be at this point in my age, to find something brand new that I could sink my teeth into, to learn, to start from scratch, if you will, That's been invaluable to me. And like I said, I've learned so much from these guys. I've competed a couple times, and I just had the honor. We talk about the Brotherhood of Fatherhood. I competed a couple of weeks ago in a big Jiu Jitsu tournament, the Indiana State Championship, the Fuji Championship, and my 20-year-old competed in the same tournament. So there's a 28-year span there, and we both medaled. So we got a picture of us both holding our medals up. I mean, I couldn't fathom a better father-son experience than I had with Joseph that day. It was amazing.
That's incredible. And I'm so glad you brought it up. So first of all, I want to say that getting vets in that may need some help dealing with things, but getting them active and in something structured like that is probably like outside of medication is probably the best thing in the world you could do for them. It's probably better than medication. I would argue it's
It's better than
Yeah.
medication. The problem, I don't mean to derail you, but the problem with these meds, all these meds, these legal meds out there, now they have a place, and they absolutely do, but they are supposed to be a bridge to get you from here to here, and then you're supposed to get off them. The problem is they're just prescribing them, and it's like, what? So I'm on these for the rest of my life. There's no end state. There's no plan to get off them. I got sucked into those things, and you're raised to, you listen to your doctor. They know better. And here I am, a few years in, I'm worse off, and I'm still on these things. And it took me one day. I just flushed them. I probably flushed a few $1,000s worth of street cred down there. I flushed them. I got off them. I don't recommend that to people. That was a rough 2 weeks, but that's what I had to do. And I got off those things. I've never looked back. Those things are supposed to be a bridge. If you go to it, if you're struggling with anything like anxiety, depression, post-traumatic, anything like, and you go to a doctor and they're like, okay, we want to get you on some mood altering pharmaceuticals, that's all fine and good, and that's okay. But if they're not detailing and talking to you about the plan to implement it, and then the plan to get off them, get a new doctor. Some of these doctors need to be prosecuted. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So I was on a pretty light. Well, it started out as heavy dose, but it was literally treated like this is a lifetime thing for you, Scott. Here, boom, stamp on your forehead. You're going to be taking this. I started that like at 20, in my 20s. About 4 months ago, no, about a year ago, I decided I've been trying for years to wean off, and nobody knows how to wean you off. These aren't like the way that you just dumped them. Like that's going to put you in massive overload for a couple of weeks, like you said. So,
I joke. I was nips up on the couch for 2 weeks, man.
yeah, yeah.
I
People
had
did.
to though.
People didn't know. Doctors didn't know that I talked to. I needed to go to a better one, but they didn't know how to wean me off. So I did my own research and did it myself. It took about 3 to 4 months of just like reducing because your brain adjusts this.
Yeah.
Since then, I've been off for like 3 months. Since then, my mood has been more stable. I am happier. And I don't, I sleep. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't sleeping for years.
You did it the smart way. I did it the Mongo smash way. But to know thy own self be true, I know my personality and how I do. It's why I jumped out of airplanes in the military. I got to jump all in. There ain't no going back. I can't. I changed my mind and go back in the bird. I'm out. I'm done. Deal with it. We'll see what the ground below has to offer me. That's my personality. That's how I had to do it. I can't baby step into things. I got to go in whole hog. My wife once said years ago that I'm like a masochistic overachiever. I just throw myself into horrible challenges and somehow I make it back. I jump off the deep end and teach myself to swim by getting back. And if I don't teach myself, I guess I'm not coming back. So that's my personality. I don't recommend that. I would really encourage people to find a doctor that can help them with that process, that has that, it is a bridge. We've got to get off the bridge eventually, the end state. There's a lot of holistic medicine out there. There's a lot of talk of cannabis use and everything. There's a lot of value in that. I am a proponent in veterans that are struggling with post-traumatic stress having the opportunity to use cannabis. I personally don't have a desire myself, and I'm doing really good with the methods I've employed, like through jujitsu, through working out. So that's working for me, but I think we need to explore all these opportunities. And, I'm a bar owner. I've had to break up a lot of fights, and I've had to throw quite a few people out and ask them not to come back because they got really drunk and started a fight. I have never had to do the same thing for somebody who's high off marijuana. So I mean, I who
Yeah.
knows? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on that stuff. I think there's absolutely a conversation that needs to be continued to be had with that, and especially with the CBD products, the without the THC in it, that's proven that to me at this point. I've taken CBD in the past, currently not right now, but there's absolutely value in that. So anyway, that's something that should be continued to discuss with doctors as well.
Yeah, and I think there's as a caveat, I think there's amazing doctors out there that would agree with you in a lockstep with, getting people on this as a bridge. It's important for some people to get them through a time, but then there's a time to, like, there has to be a plan. So let's go back to jujitsu, because it's been intriguing me, because I know a lot of men that do it and they love it. And then I look at pictures of it and I'm like, I just don't get it. And I
Yeah.
think I actually do get it. I'm pretty sure I do, but I want to hear it from you.
Well, it's the mental challenge. It's not just a physical challenge. It's far more of a mental challenge than it is a physical challenge. And I'm not talking about the aspect, which is absolutely part of it, the mental challenge of, having the nuts to do it in the first place, if you will, for lack of a better description, the courage to get out there. Because when you start, I don't care who, I've done a lot of combatives in my lifetime. I, like every single other person that ever started jujitsu brand new, I got my ass. I still do. The first 3 months were just, you don't know what you do. You're just drowning. You feel like you're drowning. You're just looking for air. You have no clue. You are lost in the sauce. You got to get through that first 3 months. But the mental part that intrigued me the most is, I mean, there's just watch some physically unintimidating little guy absolutely manipulate and control some jack guy, with ease, and just the calm demeanor, in the process of doing it, while the big jack guy is just, he's huffing and puffing and trying to do everything, and the other guy's just whoop 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 whoop, and next you know, that the big guy's tapping out because he's in the fifth millennium of pain. It's like, how in the world is this guy doing that? And it is, if there is chess equivalent in martial arts, it is absolutely jujitsu. It's amazing. Here I am at my age, and I am back to ground zero. I've been doing it for a little over a year. I'm back to ground zero with this. I know nothing. And every day I'm a sponge, and especially those first 3 months, I felt like I was drinking from the fire hose, man. I couldn't digest it all. And I still feel that way in a large part. I mean, just when you think you know something and you're getting good, and then you get shown you're not. I mean, it's amazing. And the process of doing that is so good for your mental health, because it gives you something constructive. It gives you, you're working on something. You have timelines, you have goals. Hey, I got to go to the gym this time this week. It's the structure, and then the mental challenge of learning all this stuff. It's just like, when I'm not in there, I'll go down the rabbit hole and I'll look. I was like, holy crap! It's been 2 hours. I'm on YouTube watching jujitsu techniques. And I'm like, man, I need to get a life. But you know what? I have a life, and this is good stuff. And I got all four of my kids do it. My oldest, who's grown man, he's almost 20. He'll be 23 here shortly. He does it when he can work, and he's also he's in the airborne unit in Indiana, in the National Guard. So he's getting ready to go to jump school here in a few months. And then my youngest, or excuse me, my 20-year-old, who I did that jujitsu tournament with, who lives in my gym with me. He's in there all the time. He's a gym rat with me. He's the best roommate I've ever had. He's getting ready. He's going to MEPS tomorrow night. So he's going to join the same unit. So that would be 4 members of my family in the same unit. I served in that unit for a while. My brother served in that unit. My oldest son's in it, and then my second oldest. So Dom's in it now. Joseph will be in it, assuming everything goes well through MEPS and everything. And but he does jujitsu. And then I've got my 12-year-old son Marco, and I got my 10-year-old daughter, who's Sophia, who's the only one of my children I'm actually probably a little afraid of. She's out there. They're getting it done. They're doing jujitsu, because we teach kids classes in there on Saturdays, and they're loving it, man. I mean, my daughter dropped dance class for jujitsu. So how badass is that?
Well, it is. It is because she's going to be able to handle her own defensively whenever needed if she sticks with it long enough to get those core tenets down. Because it's not about
Yep.
strength; it's about brains and movement
Mm-hmm.
and outsmarting is what it looks like to me. And um, you
About
mentioned,
getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
yeah. Well, and that's something you mentioned, and I will say over and over and over again, like you need to be in an uncomfortable place because that's where you grow. And
Mm-hmm.
I think jujitsu, what I've noticed is a lot of men do jujitsu. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's literally, I don't know if they're drawn to jujitsu or jujitsu draws leadership out of them, or if it's probably a two-way road. I would guess it's probably a two-way, medium somewhere in between. But that's one of the things that I've been really drawn to is like I watch and listen to a lot of men who have very strong leadership roles. They are people that I would follow, and I'm like, they're doing jujitsu. Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
a common thing, and their kids are doing jujitsu. Like I know one of my guests, Alex Jowdy, was on here not too long ago. He's got 5 kids. He, his wife, and his 5 kids all do jujitsu. It's like a family
Mm-hmm.
thing, and it's like they never miss it. And they got like I think from 3 years old, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a really cool family thing. If you're not forcing it, obviously, and they want to
Yeah.
do it, but it sounds like your daughter loves it, and
Yeah.
your boys love it. So
She's been bringing her little BFF with her to class, and she's been learning a little bit. And one of our senior purple belts runs that class under Aaron Johnson, Brett Bass. He brings his daughter in, and he does a really good job because attention spans with kids are, I mean, they're not, well, adults aren't much better, but they're not super long. So we do. He teaches some techniques and stuff, and I help him out. And I'm doing more to help herd the feral cats than anything. And then then we stop doing that, and we do something silly like Simon Says or Duck Duck Goose or something. So they just with the younger ones. So they just continue to. If you make it a chore, they're not going to want to do it. It has to be fun. Got to make it fun. We got to make them want to come to it. And I think you can say that about adults too. We just find our pleasure different ways.
agreed. It's the same when I taught CrossFit youth and CrossFit kids. If you make it
Mm-hmm.
fun and you throw some things in there, they don't even know they're working out, and then they beg you to
Yeah.
do it every day. So uh, you own a business, you do consulting, you
Mm-hmm.
have this, you have a nonprofit that you are deeply vested in. You're into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I believe it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
Yeah. I mean, and you're a father of 4. So let's talk about this myth called balance, because there's no way you can do all of
No
that
such
stuff with
thing.
balance. Right. Right.
I would equate. It's not balance. It's doing something that a lot of times you seem completely off balance. Yet you somehow miraculously are able to do it. And it's called juggling. You got to get good at juggling. You got to throw a lot of balls in the air, and you got to juggle them. And I that's not so much. You may look awful in the process of successfully juggling with your hands. Your feet will probably look quite off balance. And that's a proactive movement. It's a flow. You're constantly going, and that's really it harnesses my personality well. Is I'm one of those guys. If you give me one single solitary thing to do in my life, I'll probably get it done eventually. But if you give me 6 things to do, I will do all of them in half the time of the next guy with twice the results. Because I'll be 110% in one, 100%, and then I'll go when I get to a stopping point there, and I move to the next one, and I move to that. People talk about, you study better in school when you take breaks, to get your mind off it for a minute and recharge. Well, I don't take my breaks are focused on another chore. I just jump around. I'm in the middle of doing a massive remodel on my house too, so
Yeah.
I'm always throwing something in the mix. Got to stay, where's that old adage, idle hands are the devil's tool. I just try to stay really, really busy. I go nuts. That feeling, I get mad when I get anxiety anymore. It's usually because it's 10 o'clock and I haven't done shit in my day yet. I'm like, I gotta be doing something. I need to get out. I gotta, I've been working with doing some with a liquor distribution here in Indiana, helping there, and that's grown into something for me. And And I've been spending a lot of time with that lately, and I love it because it's got me back out. I'm traveling all over Indiana, and wandering Indiana, so that's been fun too. But then I'm multitasking. At worst case scenario, when I'm driving, I've got maybe I've got your podcast going on my smartphone or something. Just always doing something. There was a gentleman, a leadership and sales training guy. You may have heard of him, Brian Tracy. He said something one time. I mean, I was listening to his audio tapes back when they were cassette tapes in my pickup. He said that, music is chewing gum for the brain. Now, it's great once in a while. It tastes great, has great flavor, but there's no nutritional value. And I mean, I could argue with the arts that there is some nutritional value for that. But he's like, if you're especially somebody, if you're in your vehicle a lot, you should be listening to audio books and training books and self-help, but all that stuff. I mean, you have all this time to digest all this material. Why are you not using it? When he said, chewing gum or excuse me, music is chewing gum for the brain. Listen to something with some nutritional value. Man, that was over 20 years ago. I heard him say that, and I've been practicing that for years now.
So you and I are kind of cut a little bit from the same cloth. I'm the same way. I'm doing a lot. I hate just sitting and watching TV. I do it because my family does it and they want me there.
That's how I fall asleep.
Oh my goodness. And I'm usually doing a lot of different projects. That fuels me, but I also have to have balance in that I'm doing something physical or I get crazy. Like just being physical, doing all the things I'm doing, whether it's a project around the house or one business or another business or the 3 podcasts I do or whatever it is, I still have to go and do something physical. And I think it's probably hard for some of the listeners to hear 2 guys talk about nonstop work or whatever it is that we're doing. But for us, I get zero pleasure stopping and playing a video game. And a lot of men can play video games all day. And I have zero ability to relate to that. Zero ability to relate to that.
I'm with you.
I don't understand, but I think it's just, I don't think it's wrong. I think it's just the way it's wired.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
How we live our lives like that's not a right or a wrong. That's just a boy or a girl. They're both great. They're just different. So you just got to figure out what works for you. Like I got some little brain numbingly stupid video games on my phone that I'll pull out and play once in a while for when I need a 5-minute just decompression, clear my mental mechanism. Usually my kids download them and then they lose interest immediately and I get addicted to them. But it's like, but that also falls in line with, you do what you love for a living. You'll never work a day in your life. And then, what was it? Ben Franklin said, Ben Franklin said, time is money. Well, I think he was on to something. He's about half right. Time's worth an infinite amount more than money because you are unlimited on how much money you can make and lose in a day. You can win the lottery and you could, lose all your money in the stock market. There's 2 examples of one extreme to the other. But you've got 24 to do it in, and 8 are generally business. Get after it. And it's like the only person you should be in competition with is yourself. But at the same time, let's face it, that's not reality because you are competing in whatever you're doing with somebody else, especially in business. And if you're not moving forward, somebody's catching up or passing you up because you're stagnant. You got to keep moving. You get all sleep you need when you're dead. Get up and do something. So I've been getting a real, I always cursed it when I had to do it, especially in the military. And now that I don't have to do it, I am the master of my own scheduled day and domain. Getting up early. I'm up between, at the latest, I'm up at 7. I actually slept in a little bit past 7:30 today, that's because I got to bed at around 3. I usually I never close my eyes before midnight. And I'm usually up between 5 and 7 every day. There's just, if you don't have shit to do, find something to do. Be productive. Get into something.
Yeah, you may have seen recently I'm on this buffalo kick. And story, I heard this like 3 years ago at a conference. You remember those before COVID? At this conference, it was like 20,000 people. And this guy came out and he's like talking about being a buffalo. He's like, we have a choice. We can be a buffalo or cattle. when a storm is coming over the mountain, because the way that they
Yep.
break in that area, the buffalo will see it and they will run straight for it.
Mm-hmm.
They know that by running through it, they're going to reduce their pain level, they're going to reduce their
Mm-hmm.
time of exposure, and they're going to get through it to the other side, which is beautiful. Um,
Yep.
Buffalo, or I mean, cattle will actually move away from the cloud and spend so much more time in there. And I kind of equate that to a lot of way men operate.
Yeah.
And they get comfortable in the cloud. And it's another story I tell about, you go into the bathroom, you're in there, you walk in, and you're like, oh, I did not need to smell that. You walk in,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing your business, and you're like
Mm-hmm.
walking out, and the next guy comes in, he's like, oh, and you haven't smelled anymore. I think we have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of men that are cattle who have been
Mm-hmm.
walking in the rain, walking in the storm, getting pummeled by pain, thinking it's normal, thinking that the
Yeah.
way that they live is normal.
They've
And
become numb to it.
yeah, I say we be buffalo, we run through it and we find the other side. But it's that idea of you're continually growing. You're continually sitting outside of comfort, because that's what pushes us to grow and that's what gets us to the next spot. That's why I think jiu-jitsu is amazing. I don't
Yep.
think you arrive in jiu-jitsu.
No, I don't. You never stop learning. They say that you actually start learning once you become a black belt. And the unique thing about jujitsu, you're not seeing. I don't care if you're in the gym 3 to 5 times a week. You're not seeing a black belt for a decade.
Right.
It's not happening. They just do not give those things away. It's about what you know and time you've put in. I mean, they're very strict about that, which puts value in the achievement, which is awesome. And that's why I like, but in putting myself, I'm a disabled vet, I've got a lot of prolonged issues, physically injuries and shit like that. So on paper, I should not be doing jiu-jitsu, but man, the mental health advantage I get from that, and how when I came out of that tournament, I mean, and the win was not winning for me. The win is showing the hell up, being willing to do that, and to be a part. You're brought down. It looks like an individual achievement, and it's anything but that. I was representing every single guy in that gym that outranks me, that's been doing it longer than me, because there's a teaching culture in jiu-jitsu where everybody who outranks somebody teaches everybody up. You learn from each other. So the guys that especially the primary instructors of our black belt Jay and then our black belt Aaron, and then I mentioned Jason and all these guys, I owe so much to these guys, because all that was them. I could have never done that without them. You're not, everything I did that day, I learned from one of them. And that's with the buffalo as well. When you talk about the buffalo, that is a learned response when you run straight into that's our instincts tell us to run from it. But we've learned from people that came before us, if you run into it, the results are better. It's not as painful. It's the same thing with it, as a drill sergeant, Fort Benning, Georgia infantry, react to an ambush. Everybody, you think you flank this way, you flank that way, or you go backwards, you retreat. And the right response to any ambush is violence of action. You fight straight through it. You always you go towards fire, which instinctively the fire, you think, no, I need to go away from that. No, you lay down a heavy suppressive amount of fire, and you attack through the ambush. That is the best way to react to an ambush, and that's exactly what that buffalo herd's doing. They're attacking the ambush of that storm.
Yeah, there's been battles won. There's some pretty incredible stories. One is Joshua Chamberlain, previous to or part of Gettysburg, and he and his group of men, battalion, whatever they are, were out of ammo. They're sitting on top, and they were told, do not let the enemy break this line, no matter what. They were out of ammo. They were outnumbered like crazy. And as the story goes, he actually got shot. It hit him in the belt buckle. He lived, and so they're out of ammo, and everyone's looking at him. What do we do? And I'm not going to do this story justice. If you want to hear the story, it's incredible. Andy Andrews, Joshua Chamberlain on YouTube, he tells it amazingly. But he's like, charge. And everyone's like, look, they're like, what? He's like, charge. And he yells, he stands up and he yells, and he just goes running with all his might and all his screaming. And all these guys, like, not many of them compared to the enemy, start running down, and
Mhm.
they fled and surrendered, and they actually fortified. Like, history would be completely different if they had not done that. And they had no ammo, they had no artillery. They're just
Mhm.
running down, and it had nothing to do with their force um, by armament. It had everything to do with their force by,
Mhm.
I'm running into this thing and I'm going to do it no matter what. And I think
Mhm.
that's what, man, I believe that's what makes a man a man.
Yeah. Attitude over aptitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was also thinking of another analogy. It's erosion. Like, water will carve through and carve through and carve through and go deeper and deeper and deeper. But when it hits bedrock, it stops. I mean, it goes, but I almost feel like our lives are like us being eroded. We got to get rid of all the crap through trial to where
Mhm.
we become strong and we become
Mhm.
stoic and we understand how to handle things in a very pragmatic way in which we can function at a much higher level. So we need to put ourselves in positions. I believe as men, we should put ourselves in positions to be challenged, to lose, to be whooped, whatever it is. Uh,
Yep.
and so I will join a jiu-jitsu gym. There's just no way around it.
You got to, man. I promise you, you will shortly thereafter be like, man, this is amazing. You're right. And it won't be an I told you so moment. It'll be me having shared a great personal experience in my life with somebody else who adopted it and had a great personal experience as well, which that's, it's just, I mean, man, I didn't start it till I was in my late 40s. So, I mean, I did other things, but not this. So, that to me is becoming invaluable because you talked about put ourselves in hard situations versus I got into a point we've talked about it, and I openly discuss I struggled with some post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury, stuff like that, for years. And luckily I in all capital letters in bold luck, I found my way through it, really predominantly on my own. That's why I was very lucky. And now, I try to reach back and pull other people through. That's why I do everything with the Warrior 110. But I got down into that. Oh, I was 5 years ago. I was worthless, and especially if you grade me on a scale, my whole life, I was always the guy that tried to do more. I was always the guy that tried to be, in great shape and do the things that most people wouldn't even try. That was just kind of my goal in life. Um, and then I got in a bad way. I got overweight. It didn't help. I owned an Italian restaurant at the time. I'd go in there every day. Oh, you know what? Today I'm gonna eat salmon and spinach. Oh, look at the meatballs every freaking day. So, but I got out of shape. I was drinking way too much. Drinking's not bad. Alcohol is not bad. It's how you use it is bad. Quit blaming the inanimate object for your bullshit behavior and take accountability in your actions. I took accountability in my actions, and I fixed my shit. I flushed those meds. I went on a 4-day fast, coffee and water, black coffee water. That's all I had for 4 days. And then I went to one small protein meal a day. That was it, like 3 eggs, which is not a lot. I'll eat 12 eggs. That's not a lot of food for me. I did that for about, it culminated into 30 days. I dropped 27 pounds. And then I stayed with that same format of eating, no carbs, no sugar, protein meal, for another 2 months to culminate in 3 months. The only thing I'd change is I'd eat as much as I wanted. I'd have a big meal once a day. And I dropped, about 45 pounds total in 3 months, was working out again. I was back. I was back to being who I was, both physically and mentally. And I firmly firmly believe that you can't have, even if you think you are, you're not maximizing your mental health in the best way if you're not physically healthy. I think it negatively affects you mentally. So that was an important thing. So and I couldn't control per se my mental health right out of the gate, but I could control my physical health. I took all my injuries, all my bullshit, my injuries and this and that and that and this. And I just said, what the hell ever. And I just dove into it, because it was now or never. I mean, I'm in my, mid to late 40s at the time, mid 40s at the time. And, it's only going to get harder as time goes by, and so I somehow or another, luckily was able to reach down and dig deep, and I was able to do that, and I pulled myself out. So now I'm constantly trying to find those new challenges. I need that new challenge. And that's what led me to jujitsu. I was talking to a really good friend of mine. We know each other from the football alumni from Franklin College, the Grizzly, he's a legend there. And I was a player there at one point. Jay Hutzinger, who's a big black belt in jujitsu. And he's like, man, you need to come in here. Cause I started boxing again. And well, with my TBI and stuff, getting hit in the head anymore is not real smart. I'm probably 1 or 2 shots away from drilling in a Dixie cup the rest of my life. So I need to save those shots for when I need them. He's like, why don't you come try this jujitsu and you just come check it out. So I showed up. I proceeded to get my ass just handed to me. I mean, I felt completely helpless. I mean, it was amazing for all the shit I've done to go in there and feel that just helpless, just like you're drowning in water the whole time. Some people run from it. I immediately loved it, and I've been it's been my passion since that day. I just can't say how much I owe those guys like Jay and Jason and Aaron and all these guys. I can't even list them all. I don't think they know how. Maybe they do, but I don't think they know how much just admiration and gratitude I have for what they've shared with me in that gym, and that I will, as I progress, turn around and do the same thing. But I had to put myself in a difficult situation. So now I can sit back and relax a little bit and, enjoy maybe a good bourbon and a cigar and not get the massive anxiety like, oh, I got to be doing this. I got to do something. Cause I know I'm going to go in the gym tomorrow at 11:30 and get my ass handed to me, and it's almost, I have some difficulty in articulating why that's so important, how that's so good for me. And I think good for anybody, to challenge. It doesn't, it doesn't have to be jujitsu. Find a CrossFit gym, find a regular gym, that just pushes heavy shit around, start running, pick something that requires you to dig deep. It makes you uncomfortable. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You're never going to be successful in this life if you don't challenge yourself and you don't put yourself in physical and mental uncomfortable positions. It's just not going to happen.
Absolutely. Like as hell yeah as I can give you. You mentioned CrossFit, and when you were explaining jiu-jitsu, I'm kind of like, it's the same thing. You're like mutually suffering. And CrossFit shouldn't be that way really for the training modality, but there's also this inner part of us that wants to be doing something hard with other people.
Yeah.
And I think life is not easy. So if you don't train to embrace the hard, when the hard stuff comes, you're going to melt and you're going to be a pile of nothing that's worthless. And you're not going to know how to handle it. And it's going to beat you down until that just becomes your norm. So I think things like jujitsu and CrossFit and these tribal type activities that we do are just sharpening our saws to handle the stuff that comes at us.
Human beings are not supposed to be solitary animals. We are pack animals. And when I thrived, even, I don't have to be the hub of the wheel, the spoke of the wheel, the rim of the wheel. As long as I'm on the winning wheel, I'm happy. So I could be the lowest ranking guy in the military to where I was when I retired, whatever. In an organization, I could be the CEO, head, grand poobah owner, or I could be, the bottom of the rung sales guy, whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as I'm on the winning wheel is what's important to me, and being a part of a team. And that's really what I was missing. That was a big ingredient. And I get that from being, I call those guys, everybody I roll with, that's my team. That's my tribe. And then in business, I try to surround myself with great people, and it's not just the tangibles. Can you do your job? I also look for people that intangible. Do I want to be around this person? Because you are who you hang out with, whether it be at work or in a social environment or in the gym. You are the people that you surround yourself. You will acclimate to your environment. So put yourself in a phenomenal environment and quit hanging out with shitty people. That's the easiest step towards self-improvement is quit hanging out with people that suck. Hang out with people that challenge you. Hang out with people that make you think. I hate sitting down. Well, I don't hate it, but I get bored with sitting down with somebody, let's say, and I don't like talking politics, especially in public, but sitting down with somebody who we're in lockstep in our political views. And this is just one example. I like sitting down with somebody I probably disagree with 90% of what they think, and they probably disagree with 90% of what I think. But as long as we can both act like decent human beings as adults and have a freaking conversation about it, I love those conversations. Challenge me, make me change my mind. Give me some facts that change my mind. But that's not easy. I just surround yourself with good people. It's the biggest thing you can do.
Well, and I think
Even when I've been, because I'm old, I've had some injuries over the last year or so where I popped out of training because I had to, my back or break my finger, stupid shit. I still would go in the gym.
and be
Just
around
watch.
people. Yeah.
Just being in the environment, man. It's a
Yep.
winning environment.
And this is something that I think we're messing up is where parents are messing up. So we're going to wrap this up soon, but
Yes, sir.
when kids are coddled through trials, I mean, it's hard. I'm gonna admit, like, I watch my boys and they hit something that they're struggling. Someone's picking on them or being a jerk, or they're not doing well at something. It's hard not to run in and just say, "Hey, man, I'm sorry." But like, the best thing we can do is give them tools to work through it, but not protect them from pain and not protect them from because we're talking here about running into the storm, and yet we're saying, "Oh, but I'm gonna just shield my little Johnny all the way through it." And
Right.
I think as a society, we're really ending up with a really bad outcome from that.
Well, there's some parallels in education, formal education right now. Our teachers have their arms tied behind their backs with all these this stupid stuff that is being pushed down to them, dictating how they teach our kids, and they're not allowed to teach our kids to think. They teach our kids to just memorize this shit. But you're talking about, so instead of jumping in and just, here, this is what you do, or here, let me do this for you, you're fixing the problem. You teach the child to think their way through that problem. And I think, and that's the big thing, because that's a life lesson they'll hold. They're not going to memorize all. I don't remember. I don't remember 99% of the shit I learned in school. But I had some not so good teachers, but I had some great teachers along the way. Those are the ones that stood out. And remember, those are the ones that caused me to think. They made me think through it. Don't just take my answer for figure out how this answer is the right answer. How did I get there? Teach them to think, teach them to solve a problem, whether it be an academic problem or a life's problem.
Yeah, and I also talk about talking. I do this with my kids a lot. When something I'm going through is hard, I will tell them the whole thing, not to get their advice, but to walk them through the process I'm going through. Like, these are the decisions I made. This is what didn't work. This is what's working, because they're going to hit it too. They're going to have these super tough times.
I talk about my failures often in front of my children.
Me too.
Especially because a lot of them witnessed that bad time I went through. A lot of them, all of them, some of them older that, they could grasp it versus the ones that were younger. And I explain it, and I talk it through. And I've never was much for because I said so. That's never really been a good answer for a parent to or an adult to a child.
No. And same with coaches is another one. Do better, pitch better, play your position better. It's like, what does that mean? I think as adults, we have to articulate exactly what, not just say what we want the outcome to be, but what the actions that get you to the right outcome are.
Well, that's contrary to the definition of the word coach anyway. That's just, anybody, that's a manager, that's a dictator. And I don't like the word manager. I like the word leader, because you can manage to screw everything up, but can you lead? You're just managing to put out the information that was dictated to you, but that's not leadership. Right. I'm going to lead and not manage. A real coach is a leader.
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah. So how do you spend, you got all these things going on. We'll wrap it up with this. How do you make sure you spend enough time with your kids, give them the attention they need when you're running, you know, at 100, like me, 110 miles per hour in every direction, what is it that keeps you grounded and really
It's tough.
invested?
I try, especially, I've got my oldest is already off on his own, owns his own home, and I don't see him a lot, and or as much as I would like to. I would love to see him more, um, especially now that he's a man now, and we can relate more on a man level versus a father son level, and develop that relationship that I have with my father, my stepfather. The mentoree thing never ends. My father, my stepfather are still my two biggest mentors in my life. Um, and I want to continue to evolve in that capacity with my son. He's got a very serious girlfriend. They're probably going to be together forever, and she's a sweetheart. We love her. I can't wait to welcome her into the family formally. But so his life is taking him away from me a little bit, which that's part of it. That's his life, and I'm spending a lot of time with my 20-year-old right now, just because we're working out together. I mean, I can't tell you how much I'm enjoying that and loving that. And him and I have gotten so close, because he was there for some of the rougher times I was going through there for a few years. And then, I just try to spend, I get my kids doing jujitsu with me on Saturdays, my Marco and Sophia, my 12 and 10-year-old, I get them in there trying to do as much with me. I tell you what, one of my favorite things to do is just go out to eat. It's a simple thing. Instead of taking some, just planning working my ass off and never seeing my kid for months on end, and then say, hey, let's go on a 7 to 10 day vacation. You aren't making up for all that time in 7 to 10 freaking days. Besides that, I don't know about you, but the fathers don't vacation. We're in charge of that whole thing. It's work, so I just little things, just go out to eat, sit down, relax, have a conversation with them as much as I can. Just try to chat with them. Don't force it on them, because let's face it, our FaceTime with our kids is more important to us than them at this moment. They got their friends and stuff like that. So I just take what I can get for them. Don't push them into a situation. If they're not wanting to sit with me at the moment, let them go do their thing. It's hard, man. I'm kind of stumbling around with it because I don't have 100% the answer either. I don't think any of us do. I just try to do the best I can and spend as much time with them as I can, quality time. Especially during COVID when the schools were shut down. I was taking some of them to work. I was taking the two little ones with me to work with me. I just take one day, the other with me one day. I'm traveling all over. I just take one with them. They went on some road trips with dad, got to eat in some cool, mom and pop restaurants around the state that, they may or may not have ever had an opportunity to do, and just see parts of the state they've never seen. And that was a good time. And, my daughter, I think I listened to the same damn Justin Bieber song 30 times in a row, but I don't care. I'm with my baby girl and my Bambina. I'm good. Let's keep listening to it.
Car time is one of those, man, you can get a captive audience, especially if it's one-on-one. That's where I find I have some really good touch base with my boys, like where it's just really solid. They start to open up. And so never underestimate car time, never underestimate eating out. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And we do family dinners.
We do that Sunday dinner. I feel like, sometimes you feel like you're just dragging, you're pulling info out of you. Come on, you're just digging. I'm asking about, hey, how was school today? Fine. What'd you have for lunch today? I don't remember. Right. But you just got to keep asking those questions. So eventually, you strike something that they want to talk about. I just keep asking. Like it's my job to keep forcing the communication. It's not their job.
Yeah.
I continue to force that conversation with them, so they'll have it with me.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I loved our talks about challenges and jiu-jitsu and doing hard things. I knew it would be fun. I knew it.
You're clairvoyant.
I don't think so, but well, hey, thanks for being on the podcast, man.
Anytime, man. Always. I love it. I enjoy it. It's always good chatting with you, brother.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Brotherhood of Fatherhood podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to share it with your friends, your family, and follow us on social media. If you are a father, make sure you join our Facebook group, the Brotherhood of Fatherhood. Hit the subscribe button and tune in next time for more podcasts from the Brotherhood of Fatherhood.